Now, this feature has been removed. I'm talking about the legacy hidden wave. But when the legacy hidden wave was briefly in the game for about, I don't know, an hour or so, there was something unique about it that wasn't actually in the hidden wave previously. Oh, actually, it was in the hidden wave, but for some reason, the developers decided not to re-add it. Ironic, given the fact I'm talking about developers not adding the developers' enemies, which used to appear in hidden wave. Of course, I'm talking about developer 1, developer 2, and developer 3. These used to spawn in when the creator used its summon ability. So when you went into the game after the Legacy Hidden Wave was re-added, if you go down to scroll all the way down to Legacy, you'll find that the A, the B, and the C's are there, which are enemies which I'll probably get to later in a different video, while they are so unique. But interestingly, the developer enemies, they could not be spawned in if you went to the D section. As you can see, this is the G section. Then you've got the glitched here and the glitched giant there, but this is the C section. But you're distinctly missing the developer 1, developer 2, and developer 3, despite them being in the game previously. Further to this, developers did update Hidden Wave so that when the creator summoned, it couldn't spawn in the developer enemies. Which it could back in 2020 and 2021. Now, it should be mentioned that the developer enemies technically weren't in the original version of the Hidden Wave. What you may not know is that the Hidden Wave was secretly revamped. Well, I say secretly revamped. I guess people did report it at the time, but it was revamped on the 24th of December 2019 to add the Frost Hero, Developer 1, Developer 2, and Developer 3, and remove the glitches that used to spawn. Well, the glitches didn't spawn in from the 29th of November, but the developers did tinker around a little bit with the Legacy Hidden Wave so that Developer 1, 2, and 3 could spawn in from the creator and the Frost Hero could spawn in naturally. The developer enemies would be in the game until the removal of the Legacy Hidden Wave back in 2021. I did forget that it was removed when the Solar Eclipse event was added. So yeah, it was actually removed on the 4th of December 2021. So the developers had basically 2 years in the game. Luckily, I do have some footage from the Legacy Hidden Wave back in 2020. So as you can see here, the developer enemies, they didn't actually spawn in naturally. And by the way, yes, it was at a time when you could just slow down the game by having multiple enemies collide with each other. So I don't know what happened with the vectorization of it, but yes, which is why the game is running extremely slowly. But for this, you can actually see the creator enemy here. When it did its arm wave thing ability, it actually spawned in the developers. As you can see here, you've got developer 1 and developer 2. Now, you may question, right, so yeah, you can see developer 1 and developer 2. Whereabouts is developer 3, and why isn't the creator spawning it in even after multiple tries? So as you can see here, developer 1 spawns in again, and there's no developer 2 here, but you can distinctly see no developer 3 spawn in. Why is that? Well, actually, developer 3 did spawn in. It was kind of an invisible enemy in the sense that it actually fell out of the map for some reason. I don't know why it was. Maybe it was because it was something to do with like anchoring or some meshing or welding or whatever. But when the developer 3 spawned into the game by the creator, it would fall down into the void. But it did have its stats of 50,000 health, and it acted like an enemy itself. So if it reached the end, it would actually kill you. However, units couldn't collide with it, but towers could attack it. Apart from, interestingly, the Pyromancer, because the Pyromancer, it's hitbox based, so if you were to use the Pyromancer to kill Developer 3, it just wouldn't be able to do that. I'm not sure about any other hitbox based enemies at the time, but I don't think they would be able to hit it. Then again, we don't know. Developer 3 is a weird enemy. Now, the elephant in the room. Yeah, the Developer 1, 2, and 3, they're named after developers, obviously. However, ironically enough, all the developer enemies are based on developers that are no longer in the game, or they no longer work to the game. So for example, Developer 1 is based on Beef Chocolates, who retired, I believe, in 2021, and Developer 2 was based on Little Discreet, aka Biscuit, aka Biscuit the Turtle Kid, who also left in 2021 alongside Beef Chocolates. The Developer 1 Beef Chocolates enemy was 20,000 health, while Developer 2 had 35,000 health, and they had the same speed of fast. Meanwhile, the Developer 3 was actually slower than Developer 1 and Developer 2, but it had 50,000 health. And infamously, you probably know this, Developer 3 is based on Raztix. And Raztix was actually the latest developer to officially retire back in 2023. Now, we still don't know why he left or retired or got kicked out or was cancelled. To be fair, it's not my position to say. People have speculated to nigh on degree. But the official reason's not out, so therefore we can only assume it was a mutual consentful disagreements that led for him to leave. That he got poached by a bigger game for like a bigger paycheck. I don't know, maybe NASA hired him. Anyways, other than the fact that they were, quote, fallen mode or fallen enemies of the developers or fallen models of the developers that they were based upon, not really much can be said about them, apart from Developer 3, because with the Developer 3, 0 and 1 particles were emitted from its torso if it actually was in the game. So when it fell through the void, you could actually see the 0s and 1s being emitted from the torso. However, most of the times you wouldn't be able to see the Developer 3 enemy just because it just fell straight into the void and most people just didn't see it. Unless you were me, who were trying to capture an image of it, and this is the only good quality image of Developer 3 because I used glitches, I guess, to capture this image. And obviously, this is all a homage to Creator, aka Below Natural, aka the only developer from the fourth set, I guess, the Musketeers. So you got the three Musketeers plus the Musketeer himself, the lead Musketeer in the Below Natural enemy, aka the Creator, even though the Creator was added first and the developer enemies were added afterwards on Christmas time 2019. And this is the version seen in the game in 2025, except Developer 3, 2 and 1, they're not seen anymore, and the Creator can only summon, when it uses its summon ability, Brass, SCTs, aka Fallen Scouts, and Glitch Giants. Now, obviously, the speculation is that the developer enemies weren't re-added to Legacy Hidden Wave when it was added in 2025 because the developers here left on bad terms with Tower Defense Simulator. And that's not the case. With Beef Chocolates and Biscuit the Turtle Kid, I don't believe they left on extremely bad terms with the game itself. More likely than not, it's just the fact that the enemies that these developers were based upon are no longer part of the game, and for whatever reason, maybe it's to respect their wishes for the fact that they're no longer part of the development team for the game, the developer enemies weren't re-added. Ironically enough, there is another developer, there's like a developer enemy in the dev in the Please Donate event, but that doesn't count. So if it's the case where the developer enemies weren't re-added to pay respects to the developers that are no longer part of the game for whatever reason, then I could probably safely say that the developer enemies will never return to Tower Defense Simulator. Or, hear me out here, I think the developer enemies could be possibly remade to the lead developers of the current Tower Defense Simulator team now. If you ask me, that would be Star Wars, aka Tyler, Out of Bears, aka Nexture, and then the last one would be Haxer, aka, I don't actually know his Roblox name, maybe it's just Haxer. In any case, it would be extremely funny for the developer 1, 2 and 3 to be renamed after these guys, or to be remodeled after these guys, and just have developers 3 still fall into the void, which would be extremely funny. Other than that, developer enemies, yeah, they're cool, kinda. They don't have any abilities, so really all we can talk about is the high health and the fact that they're fast, and the fact that they're based on developers which are retired now. And you'll probably never see them in the game again, which, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, or who cares, really. It's just a quirk with the game back in 2021 or 2020.